Guys, so I finally decided to start my booktube. I have never really posted on YouTube before, and this is gonna be like my first official video, so I'm sorry if it's not too great, but these are the book series that I'm gonna be finishing in 2026. I started all of these in either 2025 or honestly some of these even in 2024, and I tend to read a lot of really long fantasy series or just long series in general, and I get to the last book or second to last book and I don't end up finishing them. One, either because I just put the book down and never pick it back up again, or like a new book gets released and I pick that up and then forget all about the other one, or the book is so good that I don't want the story to end, so I just don't finish it on purpose. And it's just like a really bad habit of mine and I need to stop doing it. So number one, a perfect example of that is the Addicted series by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This series is quite, it's literally life-changing. It's so good. I went into this, not knowing this series even existed. I saw one TikTok with one quote from the first book, and I didn't even read what the story was about. I just started the book, and I was very weirded out at the beginning, and then it kind of went from, what am I reading, to, oh my god, this is actually serious. This series is gonna change my life. But that being said, I got to the last book and I have not opened the first page of this book because I don't want to say goodbye to my characters. Those are literally my babies, and I know there's the whole series with the kids, but it's just not the same. It's not the same. The core six are just... This book is not for everybody just because of the struggles in this book, like the adult themes in this, but if you can get through that without being weird about it, it's one of the most incredible romance series ever. Romance and found family, first book I'd ever think of. This is book number 2, and this is another perfect example of a series that I loved and just didn't finish. This is the Play to Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. In my defense, I stopped reading the series because the last book was months and months and months away from being released. So I stopped at the second to last book, and I told myself, I read half of it, and I told myself I'm gonna finish the rest of this right before the last book comes out, and then I can just go right into the last book and finish this series on a good note. I didn't want to be left on a cliffhanger for a year. I didn't want to have to deal with any of that. The book came out and I never read any of them. So, and I have all of her books. This is the Play to Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. I have all of her books signed, hand signed. I spent so much money on these. I've met her, I think, twice, and she's amazing. Love her. So I definitely need to read this, and yeah. The third book is Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. If you don't know, she wrote the Serpent and the Wings of Night trilogy, or the Crowns of Nyaxia, I think that's what it's called. And her books were one of the first few that I found when I started getting back into books and when I really started getting into BookTok. And I read that book way, I think it was still indie published, way before it got popular in BookTok. And I remember literally looking up on Pinterest the book name, and there was no fan arts of it, and I was going crazy. But this is her other series that she has. What's it actually called? The series itself. The War of Lost Hearts trilogy, and I've read the series twice, and for some stupid reason, every time I get to the second book, I stop halfway and I never finish it. And I don't know why, because no, it doesn't get boring, it doesn't get repetitive, it gets better, but I just stop. And I know for a fact that this is going to be one of my favorite series of all time once I actually finish it, so I don't know what the holdup is. For the fourth book, we have Zodiac Academy by Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. If you don't know, right, Zodiac Academy has quite literally 15 million books in the series, and they're all 1,000 pages long, which to some people they might be put off because of that, but it's actually one of the reasons why I started the series. I love long series. I need a long series, because what am I gonna do with just 1 or 2 books, you know what I mean? And like, they're very unique books. Like, they're very, like, Shakespeare didn't write these, okay? But the storyline is so interesting, and the characters are so good, and the romance is so good, and it's just so funny and so different from everything else. So like, you get addicted and you read all 500 million books they have. But for some reason, I got to book, I want to say 7 or 8, and I just stopped. And I know why I stopped, actually, because I knew that I was about to get into a lot of heartbreak, and I was like, you know what? Let's delay that a little bit. And then we delayed it almost 2 years. So I definitely need to read that. I don't know if I'm going to start the whole series over. The thought of that makes me panic because it's like 10 books. Or if I'm going to pick up right where I left off, if I can even remember where I left off. But I definitely will be finishing this in 2026. Fingers crossed. Now we're getting into the books that I just like, that I didn't stop reading because they were so good. I have conflicting feelings about these. Starting with this, I think this is book number 5, and it's To Bleed a Crystal Bloom by Sarah A. Parker. She wrote When the Moon Hatched, which is like one of the most like unique romanticities, and like Shakespeare did write that one. Like, he did, she did, you know what I mean? It's amazing. It's so heartbreaking, and so like the magic system and the world they're in and everything is so different from like your usual romantasy, and it's such a complicated but like well worth it book. That being said, when I read When the Moon Hatched, I was like so confused for like 50% of the book, but everybody was, okay? And then, you know, as you start reading more and more, you get it at some point, or you get at least most of it, or what you need to get. This one, I think I did finish it the first time I read it, but I don't know what's going on, to be honest with you. It's a Rapunzel retelling, in my opinion, a dark Rapunzel retelling, or dark-ish. The thing that weirded me out about this book, right, from what I remember, it starts off with the main character as a child. I want to say she was anywhere from like 3 to 5 or 6 years old, and I'm not going to say what happens, but the MMC, who's like doesn't say how old he is, and this is fantasy, so like for all I know, he could be time traveling, he could be like immortal. Like, I didn't get that far into it, but the MMC is like a fully grown adult, and he saves this child from like a burning house or whatever. I don't remember the exact specifics, but he saves this child, and I think he knew her mother or something, and he brings her to his castle. He hires like tutors, and his staff just like raises this child. Now, he has nothing to do with her, like her entire life, right? Like, he did not raise her, he did not like take care of her, he barely ever like actually saw her. Like, he did not spend time with her whatsoever. He ignored her entire life. That being said, I just find it weird that like the MMC knew her, even like if he didn't actually know her, but like the MMC has seen her as a child, like, and I just find that very weird. I will say, if this was a romance book, no like elements of fantasy into it, it would be an immediate DNF, because that would just be weird as fuck. But because it's a fantasy, like, I don't know if or how they're gonna work around that. Like, it could be like a million different things, you know. You could be time traveling, it could be like very not weird. I just need to get to the part where they explain that, or maybe it is weird, I don't know, but we'll see. It's such like a cool like concept of a story though, like Rapunzel retelling, and also look how beautiful this book is, so I definitely want to continue with the series. For book number 6, we have Quicksilver by Callie Hart, right? Yeah. When I read this book the first time, I think I was just starting to get into my reading slump, because I know people like rave about this book. I thought it was just like fine, like it was good, but it wasn't anything life-changing. In fact, I actually don't remember a single thing that happened in this book. I do remember the nickname he gave her, which I think was Misha, guys, something like that, which I found super weird. Also, the fact that we have to call him King Fisher for an entire book, even though I know that's not his actual name, just like makes me cringe to my core. and I definitely want to continue the series because so many people love it and I don't hate it, so I want to see what the hype is about when I'm in a better mood to actually get into it. Thing is, the second book came out and I don't remember anything from this book, so I would have to reread this one and then read the second one, and that just sounds like a little bit too much of a mental strain for me right now, but it's gonna be a later problem for me in 2026 because I definitely want to read this. I also have one of the indie covers, and I have a signed cover as well, so like I gotta read what I own. Now for this book, I think this is book number, oh my god, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is book number 7. It's a Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. The second book came out. I don't remember what it's called, but I do have it. I own it. This book, it took me, like, I owned this book for so long before I read it, like probably like a year, and when I finally did, I was like, oh, look, it actually was really good. So I definitely will be reading book 2, and I don't have much to say about the series. It was just like I might have to reread the first book as well, but I know for a fact that I did enjoy this one, and I feel like it's not as complicated and long, so I don't really have a problem with that, but I will have to reread this before I read the second book. Last but not least, for book number 8, we have Fallen Stars by Imani Iru. I think that's how you say her name. If not, girl, I love you. Please tell me how you say it. This is book 2 of the Heavenly Bodies series. I read Heavenly Bodies 3 different times, okay? I read it the first time, the indie version, which I literally like fell in love with the book like that. Incredible, okay? And then it was like indie published, there was no fan art, there was no book signings, there was like nothing, nobody knew of this book. Come to see like a year later, it's traditionally published. I read it again. I can't tell you what the differences were within the indie and the traditionally published books, but I rated it 2 very different ratings, still both very good ratings, but I felt like I was reading a completely new book. So I'm very excited to see what goes on in this. I will say, I thought I remembered more than enough about the first book to just go on ahead and read this, but I keep seeing TikToks about Heavenly Bodies and people are talking about characters and like events that I not in a million years could tell you happened in the book, like ever. So maybe I don't remember as much as I actually think. That's all I've got to say about that. So either way, one way or another, I just bought this copy too. It's the Barnes & Noble's exclusive, so I will definitely be reading this, and probably very, very soon. I know I said last but not least, the last book, but this is actually my current read. Problem is that this has been my current read for like almost a month, and that means that I haven't read this in like 3 weeks, which is weird because this is how you can tell I'm getting into a book slump again, because I'm like 50% into this and I was eating it up. Like, this is so good. This is gonna be incredible. I think there's 3 or 4 books to the series, and I literally have all of them in my Amazon cart, and I am planning on buying all of them because that's just how good it is. Like, you can tell like when a series is gonna be so good depending on how like book 1 just like hooks you, and this book like hooked me in like a few pages, and it's amazing, and I need to read this entire series. So please bully me and convince me in the comments, or no one's gonna comment on this, but please, 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 like, I'm talking to my future self, please finish reading this. And yeah, that's my first booktube video. I don't know how I'm even gonna start editing this, but we'll get it done. I'm home all day today, so I can just waste the entire time doing this. I got this camera for Christmas, which I'm going to start using to film my videos. I just need to get a tripod for it. And I do also have some mics that I just bought and they're not working on my phone. So I got to figure that out. But yeah, bye.